Hello everyone and welcome back. So today we are going to see @GetMapping annotation used in Spring Framework. So @GetMapping is an annotation used to map HTTP GET request on a specific handler method in a controller. So what does this mean? This means that in a controller there can be like multiple endpoints, and to map that endpoint it means that that endpoint should be called with which URL or for which HTTP method we need to use @request mapping, and in that we need to provide the URI, and then we need to provide the method parameter, and then we need to define which HTTP method you want to use to call this endpoint, right? So this is the shortcut for writing all this code in a for that endpoint, right? So simply we can use @getMapping, so the developer can easily see that this particular endpoint is used for handling HTTP GET method with this URI, right? So basically @getMapping is an annotation, and it is the shortcut for using @request mapping with these parameters, right? So it provide a more concise way to declare mapping for a GET request, right? So now let's see the purpose of get mapping annotation. So first is concise mapping. It make more concise way to declare mapping for HTTP GET request compared to using @request mapping with a method parameter and where we define the RequestMethod.GET. So this improves the readability and the maintainability to the code. Second point is like readability. By using get mapping, the intention of a handler method is explicitly clear, and the developer can easily understand that this method is meant to handle get request. So it will enhance the readability of the code. Third point is like it simplifies the development process by reducing the amount of boilerplate code required to define request mapping for get request. So here you can simply by checking it will reduce the boilerplate code, and also it will be more readable that these endpoint are meant for handling these get request. And the fourth and the most important point is type safety. It provides a type safety feature. It helps to catch errors at the compile time only. So let's say that if you mistakenly use it on a method that does not support get request, then the compiler will generate an error, providing that immediate feedback to the developer. It means that the developer will come to know that this method is meant for other HTTP method, but not for the method, right? So let's say if you mistakenly use get mapping to the another method which is required to use another HTTP method, then the it will give compile time error and the developer will come to know. So these are the some points for which get mapping annotation is more helpful, right? Now let's go to our code and let's see how you can use get mapping. So in my last lecture I have already show you how to use request mapping, right? So guys, if you don't have much knowledge about this request mapping and if you want to understand this request mapping from depth, then I will like suggest you to watch my last lecture on the annotation, where I have explained you request mapping from end to end and how to use this and which scenarios we can use it, right? So last time I have used request mapping, but yeah, and also with the with the get method. So similarly, this get mapping annotation is used to reduce so much of code, right? So let me comment this out. So in this we are going to use @get mapping. So @get mapping annotation, and then we provide the URL, means the URI for which we want to call this endpoint. So here you can see that by checking the name of the annotation, developer will come to know, okay, this particular endpoint is meant for handling HTTP GET method. and this is the URI. Directly the developer will come to know, right? So let's save this and let's rerun our application and wait for the application to start. Then we will see in the Postman the output for this. So I have just written at the get mapping and then provided the URL. So let me copy this URL. Let's go to the Postman and let's hit the send button and let's check. So you can see that we are getting the response, right? It means we are able to fetch the data from the get HTTP method with this URL, right? So this is the way you can use get mapping. But there are like more ways, or it provide more features like you can use for multiple URI. Likewise, we use in the request mapping where we provided a multiple URI. Same manner, you can use multiple URI for this get mapping. So for that, what you need to do, you need to write at the request mapping, and then in the parameter, you need to open the curly braces, and then you need to provide one URL. And in the similar manner, you need to provide a different URI for this. Let's say get employee. So get employee is my one URI, and the second URI is get employee details. So let me save this file and let's rerun this application. And now we will check in the Postman using get employee, and then we will see that we are getting the output or not. Let's go to the Postman and let's remove this, replace with get employee, and let's hit the send button. So now still you can see we are getting the output. It means we are able to implement multiple URI. So in the similar manner, you can provide more URIs here. Like this, you can provide more URI, right? Right? Yeah. And also we can use the produces and the consumes also with this. So for that, you need to only put comma, and then you can use the produces keyword, and then you can provide that which media type you want to use for this, right? Let's say you want to use JSON value, so like this you can provide, and the similar manner you can provide for the consume also. So for that you need to use the consume keyword, and with that consume keyword you can use the produces and the consumes, right? Yeah. So like this is the all about the get mapping. Thank you and have a nice day.